Hitler occupied the rest of Czechoslovakia. Churchill's warnings were suddenly vindicated. Brendan Bracken, MP.
No man in our time has shown more foresight. His long, lonely struggle to expose the dangers of dictatorship will prove to be the best chapter in his crowded life.
Six months later, on September the 1st, 1939, Germany invaded Poland. Churchill was immediately informed by Chamberlain that he would be included in the war cabinet. But the next day, Chamberlain was still hesitating. Churchill wrote to him, frustrated.
I have not heard anything from you since our talks on Friday, when I understood I was to serve as your colleague. I really do not know what has happened since you said to me, the die is cast.
Chamberlain had twice sent Hitler an ultimatum, hoping to avoid war. But there was no reply.
On September the 3rd, it was announced that the Prime Minister would speak on the radio at 11:15.
I have to tell you now that no such undertaking has been received, and that consequently this country is at war with Germany.
He had scarcely ceased speaking when a strange, prolonged wailing, afterwards to become so familiar, broke upon the ear. My imagination drew pictures of ruin and carnage when vast explosions shaking the ground, of buildings clattering down in dust and rubble. For had we not been taught how terrible air raids would be?
After 10 years in the wilderness, Churchill was finally back in government. For the second time, he was to be First Lord of the Admiralty.
So it was that I came again to the room I had quitted in pain and sorrow almost exactly a quarter of a century before. The board were kind enough to signal to the fleet, Winston is back.
For the next 9 months, Churchill rebuilt the strength and morale of the Royal Navy.
All over the world, your comrades in the Royal Navy are...
In April 1940, Churchill launched a daring offensive into Nazi-occupied Norway. It was ominously reminiscent of his Dardanelles strategy of 1915. The Norwegian campaign became a shambles, another failure. Churchill was substantially responsible. But in public perception, he was rapidly becoming the British bulldog. Chamberlain, the weak-kneed appeaser. Facing a hostile House of Commons, Chamberlain asked Churchill to defend the government's strategy. MP Chips Channon.
He finally rose, and one saw at once that he was in bellicose mood. he made a slashing, vigorous speech, a magnificent piece of oratory. Winston told the story of the Norwegian campaign, justified it, and trounced the opposition.
Churchill's eloquence confirmed Chamberlain's downfall.
His Majesty has now entrusted to my friend and colleague, Mr. Winston Churchill, the task of forming a new administration on a national basis.
Thus, on the night of the 10th of May, at the outset of this mighty battle, I acquired the chief power in the state. At last, I had the authority to give directions over the whole scene. I felt as if I were walking with destiny, and that all my past life had been but a preparation for this hour and for this trial.
Churchill was 65 years old. After a lifetime driven by the desire to be the man who made history, history had come to meet the man. Even as he took office, he faced a German army rampaging across France. The British Expeditionary Force was in full retreat. But Churchill demanded victory at all costs.
Churchill's great achievement was to set the clear target. We are going to fight. We are going to win. And it's going to be long and hard, but we will get there. There was no question of we might give in if they'll go away. There was no question of, well, if we can get them to take half of France, that'll be all right. It was, this is it, no turning back, we're going for it.
Churchill ordered a dangerous evacuation from the beaches of Dunkirk. He insisted that soldiers fit to fight must leave first. The injured would have to wait. Over 300,000 men were safely rescued.
We must be very careful not to assign to this deliverance the attributes of a victory. Wars are not won by evacuation. We shall defend our island, whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall never surrender.
On June the 16th, 1940, Churchill heard of France's imminent defeat. True to his usual morning routine, he was working from his bed. Private Secretary John Colville.
Woken at 6:30 by a dispatch rider who brought the full facts about the French. When I heard that the PM was awake, I took them to his room and found him lying in bed, looking like a rather nice pig, clad in a silk vest. He ruminated for some time.
What General Weygand has called the Battle of France is over. The Battle of Britain is about to begin. Upon this battle depends the survival of Christian civilization. Hitler knows that he will have to break us in this island or lose the war. If we can stand up to him, the life of the world may move forward into broad, sunlit uplands. Let us therefore brace ourselves to our duty. So bear ourselves that if the British Empire and its commonwealths last for 1,000 years, men will still say, this was their finest hour.
With Britain facing a German invasion, Churchill took an agonizing decision. He knew he must prevent Hitler capturing the French fleet at Oran. But the French admirals refused to put their ships under British control. Churchill gave the order that their fleet be destroyed.
It's an amazing decision, and I think that it probably did more than anything else from the point of view of world opinion to convince people that we were really in earnest. It was very grievous. My father felt it very much. He admired the French, he liked the French. Anything but not to risk falling into German hands.
In just 10 minutes of bombardment, 1,200 French sailors were killed.
This was a hateful decision. But no act was ever more necessary.
Churchill's decision became a symbol of his ruthless determination. He had united his cabinet and the British people. He had also sent a message to the United States, underlining Britain's will to fight